Glad you're
It's pretty
here.
exciting.
Yeah, it is. So I was just sharing with our community what Mindbloom's all about, and yeah, so grateful that you're here to speak about the your experience with Mindbloom. For those of you joining us, yeah, Stephen's one of our clients, and he's just completed his first program with Mindbloom, which we call the Basics. It's 6 treatments of at-home ketamine lozenges, served about a week apart with the support of clinical and guide support. So, Stephen, would love to just start by you introducing yourself, sharing a bit about yourself, and
So
we'll
hi,
go
I'm
from there.
Steven. I live in Pennsylvania, Lehigh Valley area, if you're familiar with. Nurse by background, but I also work in IT. So my Bloom client, just kind of here sharing my story. I have a couple dogs that I absolutely love. They're like my kids. So I'm just going to warn everyone, if they start kind of speaking up in the background, it's just par for the course from working from home. So excited to get started.
Totally. Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I know I'm really excited to hear about your story. We got to meet earlier this week and just hear, yeah, how this medicine has transformed your life in many ways. And before we get to that, I'd love to hear a bit about your experience before Mind Bloom. If you could share maybe like what you were really struggling with before and
Yeah.
what your experiences were
I
like with
mean, that's
other
a loaded
treatments.
question, and I know that other people have spoken to this. Like, uh, years, probably since I've been a kid, anxiety, depression. I have a history of sexual abuse, which, I mean, that's kind of par for the course for a lot of people anymore. Always been anxious, panic attacks, that kind of a thing, depression. Obviously, you do the string of meds because what else are you going to take? Your SSRIs like Wellbutrin, Effexor, Vibrid, everything. I've taken a lot of stuff. Um, Nothing seems to work. Nothing seems to stay keeping the symptoms there. Because honestly, it's just symptom management. That's kind of like nursing the background. Like it's just symptom management. How do I cover the symptoms so I can still function? And honestly, I was barely functioning. I had to push myself out of bed every day. I think my migraines were a big part of the reason, like for a lot of this stuff. So like a lot of that stuff kind of took into play. I guess a lot of work, unfortunately. Like it's been hell, but like you get up, you kind of you do what you got to do and keep going. And I got to a point where I couldn't keep going. I was in a very dark place, and I know that a lot of people probably understand what that truly means. But it was a dark place, and I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I know sometimes that's what we need, right, to like manage symptoms. And yeah, and then it can get to a point, right, where it's like, okay,
yeah.
managing symptoms like isn't really doing it for me. Like let's get at the core root of the issue here. And I'm so grateful that you found My Bloom and you found that to be a
Yeah, you and
supportive space to
me both.
get to the core root. Yeah. So what would you say are what are the major benefits that you receive from Mindbloom? Or in other words, like how are you different today versus
Okay,
before you
so
started
what I
Mindbloom?
tell people is like there is the old Steven, and that's the old me who was just getting by, who was miserable for lack of a better word, and just sucking it up every day. From the very first session with Mind Bloom, and if you had told me this would have been the case, I probably would have laughed at you, and I'll say that a lot. The very first session, I felt like I was on cloud nine. My husband said to me, he's like, "How long does this medicine last?" And I was like, "Well, it's very fast acting, so an hour or 2 hours at the very most." And he's like, "So why are you still feeling like this?" And I said, "Because I truly feel happy for a change. I get up and I'm happy. I feel like my life is not restrained anymore. I feel like I was kind of like in the dark, hiding, and I was being restrained by like the restrictions of society, so to speak. Now I'm unbounded by that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
free to be me. I'm free to speak my truth. I'm free to just live my life. Like I think I just met with you before with the meditation. It was kind of like, before like someone asks you to do something new and you kind of laugh and you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that kind of weird stuff. But like at this point, like I've again the mind bloom mantra is trust, let go, and be open, and that's something I kind of live. I trusted that what you were saying is something I could try, and I let go with it. And honestly, it really did help get some of that nervous energy. So, and that's kind of been the theme with everything. You know, I'm willing to just go out there and do things and be me and share my honest truth. And it's coming from such a deep place in my heart. And I know that sounds kind of corny and wishy-washy. Some people call it woo-woo, but it's the truth. It is the truth. And I wish I could bottle this, and I wish I could share this with everyone and get everyone to feel the same way that I do. It's that good. I've never gotten that with any pill that I've taken. Honestly, any therapy that I've ever had, you know, it gives you the tools, it gives you what you need to kind of get to be a better person. But when you're trapped in a vicious cycle, honestly, of depression, anxiety, and migraine pain, like you can't do that stuff. You can't see that light. You can't really make those tools work. And I think a lot of what I do, because I'm pretty active on like the Mindbloom Facebook group and just like in general with talking. And it's like what I tend to do with stuff is that I tell people, I'm like, ketamine is like 10 years of therapy in 60 minutes. It basically takes everything that you've already known and learned from self-help books, from your therapist, from your doctor, from your coworkers, from inspirational videos, the internet, whatever. It takes all of that stuff and actually makes it easier for you to put those into action. So like my husband used to say to me, like with the panic attacks, just breathe through it. And I'd be like, you can't just, I literally am able to kind of take some breaths. I recognize it for what it is. I don't give it the power over me, and I work through it, and then I move about my day. And that's powerful. That is powerful. If I can impart that to one other person, just in one small way, then this was worth it. And at the end of the day, I'm not doing it because I want everyone really to be perfect, although that would be nice and to be in a better place. Because this journey has been really about me and my health. And that's what Mind Bloom has given. And I feel like I just went on a little tangent again. But like I want to share that with people. I want people to understand that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to tell you, Asha, that like at one point I could not see a future for myself. I could not envision that things were going to get any better, and I can do that now. I can
Yeah.
I can oh I can live, and that's
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Stephen, for sharing that, for sharing your experience of what this opened for you. I'm hearing that it opened a lot, and specifically like this open-mindedness, this open-heartedness, this
Yes.
curiosity, this trust in yourself and in what is possible for you. And I know, yeah, really powerful.
Oh.
Just saw someone post that in the chat. I've got goosebumps from your share, you know, because I think a lot of us have been there with depression and anxiety. It's a very common symptom to kind of get this tunnel vision
Yeah.
and not see that light at the end of the tunnel and believing like it has to be this way, but it really doesn't. And sometimes it does take something like ketamine to open up the mind. And just to share a bit more on that for our audience of, you know, how this medicine works. So we prescribe 6 treatments in our initial package. We ask them to be dosed about 1 week apart. The experience itself lasts an hour, and the way in which it works is you get this felt dissociative kind of psychedelic experience during that hour of the medicine, but thereafter it changes your brain and induces this environment of neuroplasticity in the brain, which means that it activates more of the brain. So, right, it kind of opens up that tunnel vision to allow us to see what else is possible. And, you know, with these treatments week over week, it creates this cumulative effect. So sometimes people do notice a big shift after one session, like you did, Stephen, but I also want to speak to the fact that it doesn't always happen that way. Like sometimes it takes a few treatments to really see that opening, or until the very end of treatment. But we do have a really high success rate. I believe it's around 95% success rate in reduction of anxiety and depression symptoms. And part of that, right, is like that opening up of our minds of like, what else is possible here? And finding, yeah, love and trust within ourselves. And so yeah, really grateful for
Yeah.
you for
Yeah.
speaking to that and
I just
sharing
want
that
to say, like,
experience
back to
with
kind of what you were
us.
saying, like, everyone's experience is different with this, and you'll see that, like, if you join the Facebook group or you read about things. So everyone is different, but at the end of the day, even if you get one tiny piece of benefit from it, it's still better than that pill that you're popping that's clearly probably not working, or that Xanax that you're taking that's sedating you
Mm.
and just masking your symptoms. So, and again, it comes back to that trust, let go, and be open. And I think that's what helped me from day one, just really running with this, you know, just really running with it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that trust, let go, be open. We call it our TLO mantra. This is that mantra that we offer to our clients to use for their journeys specifically, because we don't know what can come up in the journey itself. Like sometimes it is a really meditative, blissful experience, and sometimes past traumas can come up and things are not expecting. So we like to use that mantra of trust, let go, and be open to remind ourselves to stay present in the
Yeah.
journey. And you can use
Yeah.
that,
I use it
right? Like long
every day.
after the journey
I
ends,
basically live
which
it.
you,
That's how I put it. So, yes.
I love that.
Yep.
And so you referenced the community a few times. So we have a Mindbloom Facebook community for both current clients and prospective clients.
Mhm.
And it's a really beautiful space. We offer meditations and different prompts, journal prompts, things like this. And the people in that group really support each other. And Stephen, you've been such a pillar in that group for supporting other clients, which is really beautiful. And I was curious too, like what are some other
Okay.
resources that have been
I mean,
supportive for you in the
Mindbloom gives you a
process?
lot of good tools. That's why I kind of went with this program versus some of the other ones. I feel like there's a lot of tools they want to set you up for success. So in the app, there's I think it's is it the integration section tab? There's a lot of very good articles and videos. And can I just tell you, like, I, so I'm a nurse by background. I know how things work. I want to know the science of stuff. Like, I get it. I don't need any of this feel good, wishy washy stuff. And I was expecting that some of these articles were just going to kind of be this glossy, moonbeams and sunshine kind of a thing. But I'm telling you, I went through and I devoured all of those articles and videos, like down to the last one. And I watched a couple of them a few times, and that has helped a lot. Utilize the tools that they give you. That's what I think is instrumental to the success. So on top of that, I think you mentioned that there's also what they call the integration circles. So again, rolled my eyes with that one with my guide Rin, and shout out to Rin, my guide who has been awesome through all of this, and my clinician Tyler. Um, but the Mindbloom circles, so they offer general ones which you can join, and they offer a lot of them, and they also have themed ones. So like for sexual abuse trauma, men's, women's, and then they also have an LGBTQA plus. I joined a general one, and it was awesome. Like, it was awesome. I went in thinking I was just going to be like, I'm just going to be a fly on that wall and not say anything and just kind of, do my thing and walk out of here and be done with it. But I went in there. I was nervous. I spoke my truth. I shared, and it was very comforting and very warm. And the energy that other people are projecting was awesome. And I wanted to do more of them. But for me, the general one was just, I don't know, I feel like I wanted more from it. So when I saw that they had like the themed ones, so just in case anyone is not aware, I'm gay, and I'm good with that. Like, that's another thing that has changed. But either way, so I went to the LGBTQA ones, and uh, I found a home. Like, I would have never done this prior to Mindbloom, but I found a home. And I go like every week if I can, if there's availability and that kind of thing. But it's been very instrumental. Like, just sharing your truth and hearing other people's experience, it's beautiful. And then I mean you have like, the Mindbloom soundtracks that you use during your sessions. I've actually gotten into using those post like for meditations at night, and they work wonderful. So, there's plenty of tools out there, and then that Facebook group is awesome because everyone has different experiences and different ways that they manage it. And what's right or wrong is nothing is right or wrong. It's just there, and try it and see what it goes. And again, with everyone that I've encountered, there's no judgment, no, I don't say no shame either. You are who you are, and you're free to be who you need to be, and that's it. If something doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate. You move on to something else. So
Mm, yeah, I love that
yeah,
sentiment. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you
Yeah,
for trying these new things.
for
Like,
sure.
it can be scary, right? Like, and trying a new medicine, meeting new people, being in a space with strangers. And that's kind of what it is, our integration circles. So um, they the integration circles are for clients to come together in a group, and it's facilitated by a guide like myself. So we have agreements, we have, kind of these agreements in place to keep it as safe a space as possible for people. And people get to share about their experiences, hear about the experiences of others, receive loving and kind feedback. And that can be such a
Yeah.
key part in our journeys, like this integration process. And that's what we really like to focus on at Mindbloom. Like, yes, there's the medicine, and there's all these tools and resources that help make the effects of the medicine sustainable and long lasting. Um,
Yeah.
so thank you for
Thank you for
speaking to
letting
that. I'm
me.
so glad you took
That's
advantage of
tough.
those things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another question, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier in terms of the main benefits that you've received personally, this openness, this curiosity, this ability to trust in yourself and your life and let go. And I'm curious how this has transformed maybe things outside of you in terms of your relationship, how you relate to your work, how you relate to just the world around
Again,
you in general.
there's the old Steven and then there's this new Steven. I feel like I approach everything with just open eyes and a different viewpoint. Like I'm not saying that I don't get anxious, I don't get angry, I don't get upset with things because that's normal. And usually tell people, and usually I post it like this, is like it's funny because like the anxiety that I feel, it's what I would classify as normal people anxiety or normal people emotion, honestly. What you in your anxious, depressed head see a normal person acts. That's the person that I am now. So like, the biggest change was with my husband. We actually talk about things. Even though we may not always agree on stuff, we actually have open dialogue. We're more loving with each other, which is huge. And I never want to go back to that old way of life. Same with work. Like I go to work and even some of my coworkers have made comments, which is kind of funny. And I'm glad there's some of them know now that I did Mind Bloom because I was kind of like, how do you do that? But I was like, I look at things and I'm like, at the end of the day, why should I let this task that's not going right affect me? Yeah, I'll get a little worked up over it, but I'll work through it and move on to the next thing. I don't let things bother me. I'm free and unbounded from that restraint that I was putting on myself with anxiety, depression, and just the world. My relationship with the world is so much
Mm.
better. I think I keep telling myself my common theme right now is just being connected, connecting. So like I've been reconnecting with old family and friends and old things that I kind of let slide or just in the world in general. And I think that's been huge. And I think that's what makes it that much better for me. So like a huge benefit. Like if you had told me when I started all this that this is where I would end up, I probably would have laughed at you and I would have put it in like, yeah, I don't think ketamine's not going to be like that. I've taken pills before. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. There's this, I'm hearing you say that it's like you
Yeah,
still experience these challenging emotions, right? But the quality in which you experience them is different, or the
yes,
way that you relate to them is different. Like it sounds like you're able to, yeah, recognize the emotion, allow it to move through you instead of allowing it to necessarily
yeah,
like guide you or control you in all ways. That's really beautiful. I mean, we're human beings, we're meant to feel this whole spectrum of emotion, but the key is, right, like using it as wisdom and not necessarily
yeah,
as something
for
that
sure.
controls us and puts us in a box.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So lovely. I love to hear your story and I love to hear
yeah.
the benefits that
I
you
feel like I could
received and
just
your
keep
insight.
talking and
And
talking and talking,
I
but I
see
have to make
we're
sure that I, stay on focus here. So
yeah, I mean, me too. When we get to talking about the ways in which things have really transformed and
yep,
impacted us, like
yeah.
I could talk for hours too. But on that note, we are coming up on our time together, so I want to kick it back over to you and see if there's any last lingering things that you want to
Oh,
share. And in fact, I see a
yeah,
question in the
actually, it
chat
just
if you
popped
want to
up.
speak
The
to
biggest
this. Like,
lessons is that, I think I talked to Asha about this and other people, is that even though you may be in that deep, dark place and you don't see hope and you don't see any future and nothing is going your way, there is that possibility. Even though you may not feel it at that moment, there is possibility. So I think my biggest thing was just not reaching out to people and holding it in. And when I actually reached out to a couple of people, my husband and a very close friend, and we were talking about this, and Mindbloom came up, it was a game changer. Because at that point, I offloaded everything that's been going on within myself that I've been holding, and sharing that, even though it was hard emotionally, but getting it out there and having someone else hear you and not try to fix it and not try to overwrite it, but actually hear you and then work with you, I think that was huge. And I've learned that I don't need to do things alone anymore, and I don't need to be afraid. And I can, and I'm deserving of things. Ultimately, I'm deserving of things.
Yeah. Yeah, you really are. All of us are. Really appreciate you sharing that and all
Yeah,
of the beautiful details of your story. And for those of you who joined on this
yeah.
conversation with us, thank you all for being here, for holding space, for learning about this powerful story and this powerful treatment. And if you didn't catch the whole conversation, we'll be posting it in our feed afterwards. So feel free to check us out, send us any messages if you have questions. We're always willing to help. Stephen, any
I just
last
want to
things
say
you want to say
thank you for
before we
giving me
end the
this
live?
opportunity. I'm pretty active on the Facebook group, and there's other people, so you can reach out, ask questions, that kind of a thing. But don't hesitate. Even if ketamine is not, within your reach or doesn't work for you, there's plenty of other things out there, and that's just what I want to tell people. It's like, there's plenty of options. You're not alone. You're not alone. And I'll leave it on that.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everyone, for being here and
Yeah.
wishing you all a
Peace out to
beautiful rest of your
everyone.
day.
Peace.
Bye, everyone.